Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome back to Market Insights with Linux, and welcome to this new video in which I wanted to do a full video on silver, all right, so XAGUSD. So that's what we're going to do. Yesterday I posted a video on gold and my reasons for why I am adding gold to my traditional financial portfolio, all right, so outside of crypto. And in this video I wanted to talk about silver. Wanted to do a little bit of a fundamental analysis. So we'll talk about, what are some fundamental factors that are influencing the price of silver, which is quite different from gold. I mean, obviously gold is being used in certain products, but silver is being used to a much higher degree. And there's some other interesting interplays between silver and gold that I think make it very interesting to take a look at silver as a potential addition to that. And personally, when I'm talking about my personal financial decisions and my portfolio allocation decisions, I'm very much thinking about adding silver to that batch of gold, right? So I will not allocate more than 10% to metals. I don't know enough about metals for that. I trade metals much more often, but I will not allocate more than 10% to that. But at this point of time, I'm leaning towards doing that in terms of 5% gold, 5% silver, and that's for multiple reasons. So let's talk about that. And we'll talk about the technicals in a moment as well, because even though I want to add gold and silver to my portfolio, I am never greedy with my entries, all right? And I will always look for the better entries. And if a better entry is not possible and we're in an uptrend, I will just DCA. But at this point of time, I think better entries are possible, and that is something I will also speak about in this video. But all right, so like I said, I mean, silver is very much being used by a lot of industries and by a lot of creation of devices, and that demand, if you take a look at the supply and the demand of that, I mean, both have grown, right? So supply from recycling, from mining, has grown, but not only has demand grown together with that in certain years, not compared to 2024, but in certain years, especially since 2016, the demand has outgrown the supply, all right? So what that does to the price is the price goes up. All right, and there are some analysts, and this is definitely not something I am proficient enough in, or I have enough expertise in to tell you whether it's true or not. But there are some major analysts talking about that silver is also going to be used even more when we look at the current. When we look at the current development of how silver is being used in these devices, right? And it's expected that these devices, or the production of which, will only ramp up, which will only ramp up the demand for silver, while supply, especially when we look at mining, has been stalling a bit. So fundamentally, that's a factor positively influencing the price of silver. Outside of that, and this is a little bit of a strange thing perhaps, but if you take a look at the gold to silver ratio, you can also see that that's very high. For the majority of the time between 1990 and 2017, although I could argue 2020, the average has been around 60/70, all right, for this gold-silver ratio, which hopefully you can see. At this point of time, it's sitting much higher at 100, all right? So that means, or at least that's a reason why silver could at least outperform gold, which is interesting. That doesn't mean that it's going to rally. It could also mean that silver falls less when gold is starting to fall. But I think that's interesting enough to add that as a reason why I want to diversify at least between silver and gold. And then last of all, if we take a look at the technical structure, which means something as well, right? Because all of these fundamentals are blended into one another through this technical structure. The technical structure looks great as well. We are in a very strong uptrend after a consolidation since October 2024 at least. As you can see right here, you could argue that it went all the way from May 2024 until we actually got the breakout right here May 2025. But we have broken out. We've broken out with volume right here, with a reason as well. Some of the reasons included in this video as well. So when I'm talking about entries, I mean my favorite entry based on imbalances left below the daily trend, which you can see, and a major support level right here. My ideal entry for the short term would be between 34.8 all the way down into the 90-day rolling VWAP at 33.6. So that is where I will be accumulating my first silver. But again, I mean, from there I'll probably DCA, but I'm not going to be greedy. And I think there's also a possibility, if we see some de-escalation, that we're going to move all the way to down to the point of control of the previous range right here at 32.4. That is a little bit of trouble seeing that. So those would be the main areas where I would buy silver, but for those reasons, well, could almost not talk, but for the reasons I've given you earlier, this is something that I will add to my portfolio. So hopefully that helps. All right, hopefully that adds some value, and it can give you a bit of a better idea of whether you should also buy silver, yes or no. I would definitely encourage you to do more research on there. I mean, silver and the market for silver is very interesting, and definitely something that's difficult to predict and very big. But hopefully this is a step in the right direction for all of you in getting the initial knowledge. But that's it for now. That's what I think you need to know. If you're interested in more gold, silver content, but mostly stock content as well, consider subscribing. But for now, that's it. Thank you for watching. Take care and bye.